So what it meant was that Ghanaians had bought into the message that they believed that I would be able to reset things, and we use the word reset as one of our major campaign points, be able to reset things in order to build the confidence of our people in our democracy again. And so that responsibility is not lost on me. And so since 7th January, every step I've taken is meant to restore the faith of our people in our democracy and let them know that we can lead this country in a way different from what has been done in the past.
My people, something is happening in Ghana. It's something rare, powerful, and yes, if handled right, potentially transformative. Ghana's economy is bouncing back in a big way, a historic way. So let's start with the headlines that have economists doing a double take. The Ghanaian Cedi. Yes, the same currency that was once ranked among the world's worst is now one of the best performing currencies on the planet. It has gained nearly 25% against the US dollar in just a few short weeks. But that's just the beginning. Ghana is doing something bold, something we rarely see on the continent, but quite honestly would love to see more of. It's nationalizing its gold through its goldbod initiative launched by President John Mahama, boosting its reserves and asserting control over one of its most valuable resources. The country has paused external debt repayments, buying time to stabilize and reset. And the central bank is tightened monetary policy, controlled inflation, and injected nearly $500 million into the market to calm the currency storm. Now, these aren't just random moves, right? This is strategy. This is survival. And maybe, just maybe, this is the start of a bigger shift. Because no, it didn't make sense that Africa's #1 gold producer had to seek a $3 billion bailout from the IMF and default on its loans. But here's the real question we need to ask. Is this the turning point Ghana has been waiting for? Or is it just a sugar high before another crash? Because if we've learned anything from history, it's this. Good news doesn't last on its own. It has to be built on. It has to be protected, turned into power. So today on the breakdown, we're unpacking why the cedi is suddenly rising like a phoenix, what this rare economic moment really means, and what Ghana must do now to turn this surge into lasting transformation. Because the window is open, but it won't stay open forever. We're going to break it all down, but before we dive in, a big welcome to all of our new subscribers and members. I am so glad you're here with us. And if you're watching and haven't joined us yet, please consider this your personal invitation. Because here at Panagenius TV, we're not just building a channel, no. We're creating a global home for Black stories that are told with truth, with intention, and with power. And if that speaks to you, and I hope it does, hit subscribe, tap the bell, drop us super thanks, or join our membership community where we go beyond the headlines with exclusive content, behind the scenes conversations, and a front row seat to the dialogue shaping our future. Also, I will be at the 2025 NABA convention in Las Vegas on June 2nd through the 6th, where I'll be bringing you a very, very special coverage from the convention. So stay tuned for that. And then on July 7th, I will be in Dublin, Ireland. Yes, where I am honored to be the keynote speaker for the Audacity Conference, powered by the Black Irish Sisters Network. Now scan the code to learn more and join us if you're in the area. It's going to be great. All right, now, so let's break it down.
You didn't have to brag that you have the men. You didn't have to brag that you have a solid economic management team. And yet, within 5 months, you have been able to bring the dollar down from its knees from 17 cedis down to 10 cedis. And you then allow somebody to come and derail all the gains that you are making. You didn't need gold for oil. You didn't need plenty speeches. You didn't need all those rich kontomire from. You didn't need all those spokespersons at the various ministries. And yet you brought down the price of fuel to a certain level where every Ghanaian is happy, to the point where you have instituted 15% reduction in transport fares.
So that about captures the general sentiment in Ghana right now. Yes, Ghanaians are very happy. So let's talk about what actually happened, because this didn't come out of nowhere. Just a year ago, Ghana's economy was in the ICU. The cedi had lost over 50% of its value. Inflation was running wild, and investor confidence had evaporated. Ghana was defaulting on debt, turning to the IMF for a $3 billion bailout, and scraping together reserves just to keep the lights on. Fast forward to now, May 2025, and suddenly the Ghanaian cedi is one of the best performing currencies in the world. In fact, it's appreciated by nearly 25% against the US dollar. Let that sink in. So what changed? Well, here are the key moves behind the comeback. Number one, massive forex injection. The Bank of Ghana pumped $490 million into the market in April 2025 alone. That's the highest monthly intervention since 2022. Why does that matter? Well, more dollars in the system calms panic, boosts supply, and gives the cedi some breathing room. And secondly, the gold for oil and goldbod strategy. So here's what you need to know. In 2022, under then President Nana Akufo-Addo, Ghana launched an aggressive program to pay for oil using gold instead of dollars. So it was the beginning of the idea of nationalization, right, of our natural resources. But then President John Mahama, who just took office in January, is trying to take things a step further. He established Goldbod, a new state-run gold aggregator to manage the nation's gold. Goldbod, which sits directly under the Ministry of Finance, is the sole authority with exclusive right to buy, sell, weigh, value, and export gold and other precious minerals in Ghana. According to Goldbod, they expect to double the annual inflows from small-scale gold production, which accounts for about a third of annual outputs, to $12 billion. Gold is now back in the cedi. That's a big shift, a game changer. 3, debt repayment suspension. Ghana has also restructured most of its debt, with the biggest one being the $3 billion IMF loan. It has suspended most of its debt payments for a while, keeping hard currency inside the country. It's controversial, sure, but it gives the economy fiscal space to stabilize. And number 4, tight monetary policy. The central bank held interest rates steady at a high 28%, even as inflation cooled. That high rate discouraged capital flight and helped restore faith in the cedi. And number 5, strong remittance inflows. The diaspora remittances are also playing a silent but powerful role here. With steady inflows of foreign currency from Ghanaians abroad, the pressure on the cedi erased even further. So when you combine all of that, nationalization of gold, forex injections, debt pauses, and tight policy, you get what we're seeing now. A rare moment of economic stability and even optimism in Ghana. These moves are backed by the IMF's program, yes. But Ghana isn't just sitting back and letting the IMF write the rules. It's trying to assert its own. And here's what that signals. This is not just about saving a currency. It's about restructuring the economic model from one that is reactive, aid-dependent, and dollar-hungry to one that is more sovereign, resource-backed, and self-determined. But let's be real. While these wins are impressive, they are fragile. Much of the cedi's strength is built on short-term fixes. So the gains we're seeing right now, yes, they're real, but they're not yet guaranteed. Which brings us to the most important question. How does Ghana cash in on these gains? Because if it doesn't act fast, it could all unravel.
In the colonial era, we had colonial masters, we had no say, and so they mined the gold, they took it away, they developed the palm plantations, took the palm oil away, they took the diamonds away, took everything away. And when we gained independence, Nkrumah warned us and said colonialism might have been defeated, but we're entering the era of neo-colonialism. They don't need to bring a governor to sit here, but they still would, from wherever the colonial headquarters are, control your resources and be able to still derive the benefits as if they had colonized you. And that exactly is happening. Post-colonialism, we didn't have technology, we didn't have capital, we didn't have the human resource. And so foreign companies come and take huge concessions and they sign it off for a pittance. And they run those, concessions to the benefit of the colonial metropolis. Today, I think that in Africa, we've developed a core of human resource that is capable of also taking advantage of some of these resources. We've developed the technology. We have the technology to be able to do whatever any of these big conglomerates are doing. And the capital is available in the world to mobilize, to be able to do the same things. And that is why recently we had a little issue which we have resolved with one of our mining companies whose lease had expired after 30 years. And it was our desire to take it over and use Ghanaian expertise to be able to also exploit that resource and let the benefits remain in our country.
But before we get into that, let's dig deeper into the shifts that are happening and why this moment matters. Because what we're witnessing in Ghana right now, no, this isn't just a lucky break. It's a carefully calculated economic reset, one that speaks to a deeper truth about power, sovereignty, and self-determination. It is also a complex interplay between bold domestic moves, global shifts, and strategic partnerships, some of them controversial. So let's start with gold, because gold is at the heart of this entire strategy. It will play a crucial role in sustaining this positive trajectory and in repositioning Ghana's economy for long-term growth. Ghana, which recently overtook South Africa to become Africa's largest gold producer, has always had gold, ample reserves of it. But for years, that gold has been extracted and exported with minimal benefit to the people. Now, with the goldbod, Ghana is saying we're taking complete oversight of this natural resource so we can better manage it to serve our people. We will combat leakages, illegal mining, and create a process to streamline production, value addition, and exports. Now, that's not just economics, that's ideological. It's a statement. Our resources will no longer just enrich foreign companies. They'll back our currency, power our economy, fuel our future. And it's working. In April alone, Ghana recorded the largest monthly volume within the last 28-month data window, generating a record $897 million in revenue. This puts Ghana on track to hit $6 billion in revenue this year. And the Ghana BOD expects to double that number to $12 billion next year. Let's be honest, this kind of move is rare in Africa. We often hear about countries trying to diversify, but Ghana is doing something even more fundamental. It's trying to reclaim control.
And lets them know that we can lead this country in a way different from what has been done in the past. And so to try to do this, one, the first and foremost was the cost of living and the general hardship that Ghanaians were going through. And so that has been one of the main focuses of the administration in the last 5 months we've been in office, focusing on stabilizing the economy, focusing on reducing hardship, cutting down expenditure, bringing more accountability into government, enacting a strong fight against corruption, introducing codes of conduct to guide leaders in political office. So these are all things that we have, focused on and fast-tracked in the last 5 months.
First, let's talk about the domestic policy at play here, which is tight, tough, and yes, tactical. Ghana's central bank didn't just cross its fingers. It moved with force. The Bank of Ghana held interest rates at a crushing 28%, even as inflation began to slow. That discouraged capital flight and helped restore market confidence. Then came the $490 million forex injection in April alone, an aggressive signal that the state was ready to defend the cedi. But here's what's key. These are not just economic moves. They are psychological ones designed to shift sentiment, stabilize panic, and say, Ghana is not spiraling. Ghana is fighting back. Second, the IMF factor. Let's not ignore the elephant in the room, right? Ghana's stabilization is happening under the watchful eye of the IMF. As part of a $3 billion bailout, Ghana had to meet strict conditions, cut deficits, restructure debt, and show signs of fiscal discipline. And that's exactly what it's doing. Debt service has been temporarily paused. Budget deficits are being narrowed. Domestic revenue efforts are stepping up. So yes, the IMF program is boosting investor confidence, but the question we need to be asking is, can Ghana maintain sovereignty while still playing by the IMF rules? Can it reform on its own terms? Or is it just surviving for now? Third, commodities and a global shift, right? Globally, a few things are also playing in Ghana's favor. Gold prices are strong, which helps support Ghana's goldbod strategy. Cocoa, despite recent volatility, is still a major forex earner. And global oil prices have cooled slightly, easing Ghana's fuel import burden. At the same time, a global slowdown in interest rate hikes from major economies like the US has taken pressure off emerging market currencies, creating space for the cedi to breathe. So yes, Ghana is doing the work for sure, but the global environment is also cooperating, at least for now. Lastly, confidence. Now, this might be the most underrated factor of all. Investor sentiment is shifting. Ghana's bonds are slowly regaining attention. Diaspora confidence is growing. And on the ground, people are starting to believe again. And hey, belief is power. Because at the heart of every currency is trust. For the first time in years, there's a sense of forward movement. But, and this is a big but, we have to stay clear-eyed. Because as impressive as all of this is, a lot of it is temporary. The debt pause is a short-term fix. The gold strategy is powerful, but it needs scale and accountability. And remittances can carry the economy forever. So the bigger picture is this. Ghana is at a crossroads. It's shown it can stabilize. Now, it has to transform. Because unless this moment is backed by real reform, real diversification, real industrial policy, real investment in people, then this comeback could fade just as quickly as it rose. So what would it take for Ghana to lock in these gains and build a future that doesn't depend on another IMF bailout or another commodity boom?
Sometimes you notice that the world economic order is rigged against Africa. We can increase processing overnight, but you have non-tariff barriers in exporting into some of the markets. Unless they bring a processor from outside, from Europe, who comes and sets up a processing plant and gets all the regulatory things in place. I mean, an indigenous person setting up a processing plant sometimes has a very big difficulty exporting finished products into the EU market and into the American market. But I must say that we've made progress from a low of about 25% processed cocoa.
Here's the bottom line. The city's rise is a powerful moment, but unless it leads to structural change, it'll be just that, a moment, gone in a flash. And Ghana can't afford to let that happen. Because this isn't just about exchange rates. This is about whether a country that has literally everything, gold, oil, cocoa, a young, vibrant population, and global goodwill, can finally stop surviving crisis to crisis and start building sustainable prosperity. So what must Ghana do now to lock in the gains? Let's break it down. 1, Ghana must use this window to diversify. Right now, it has the breathing room. The question is, how will it use it? This is the moment to shift from extraction to transformation. Not just exporting gold, but refining it right here. Not just growing cocoa, but producing world-class chocolate at scale. Not just selling raw materials, but building a full manufacturing ecosystem that creates jobs, adds value, and keeps wealth in the country. Ghana must go beyond slogans and take bold action to incentivize local entrepreneurs. Yes, and that's a big one. To build refineries, factories, packaging plants, logistics systems, every link in the value chain. And just like how it's now asserting control over its gold, Ghana must set clear terms with global buyers. Don't just come for our raw resources. Come ready to invest in our finished products. That means designing policies that reward companies who source value-added goods from Ghana and investing in local businesses to build the capacity to deliver. Because if the world is going to profit from Ghana's resources, it should be made through products that say, made in Ghana, not just dug up from Ghana. Number 2, Ghana must fix the fiscal foundation. Yes, the cedi is stronger, but Ghana's public finances are still vulnerable. To sustain this progress, the government must continue to streamline spending, crack down on corruption, and increase domestic revenue through a fair, transparent, and efficient tax system. Because without strong fiscal discipline, even the strongest currency can crumble. And to be fair, the work has already begun. The government has made anti-corruption a top priority. And they're not just talking, they are taking action to identify leakages in the system and hold people accountable. Just this week, the government announced a temporary shutdown of Ghana's embassy in Washington, D.C., following reports of fraudulent and scam-related activities. That's the kind of decisive action it takes to restore trust, not just with investors, but with Ghanaians. But this must be just the beginning. Transparency and accountability have to become non-negotiable, baked into the DNA of how the state operates. Because if Ghana wants lasting economic power, it can't just clean up its books. It has to clean up its system. Number 3, Ghana must build investor confidence the right way, and not just build it, but sustain it. With a stronger cedi and signs of economic stability, Ghana is suddenly back on the radar for global investors. But here's the thing. The goal shouldn't be just more foreign direct investment. It should be smarter investment. Deals that bring technology, infrastructure, and long-term jobs. Not just the same old cycle of resource extraction and repatriated profits. Ghana must position itself not just as a source of raw materials, but as a destination for innovation, manufacturing, and yes, talent. That means creating an enabling environment for investors who are ready to build with Ghana, not just take from it. Number 4, Ghana must invest in people. This is the time to do it because people are the real economy. No economy can thrive without its people. And that means investing in education, skills training, and healthcare, especially for the youth. And the Mahama administration is putting that truth into action. Because just recently, they announced the 1 Million Coders program, a bold initiative to train 1 million Ghanaians in software development, digital skills, and emerging technologies. Now, this is the kind of investment that changes futures. Because if Ghana can develop a globally competitive tech workforce, it won't just be exporting gold. It'll be exporting innovation. And in a world increasingly shaped by AI, automation, and software, that's where the real value lies. And that's where we should be investing. So yes, roads matter. Gold matters. But if Ghana truly wants to lead in the 21st century, it must bet big on its people, its human capital. Because infrastructure can collapse, commodities can crash. But when you invest in people, the returns never stop. And number 5, Ghana must plan for the long game. This recovery is fragile. The world economy is volatile. Elections will come up again. Oil prices fluctuate up and down. Ghana must institutionalize the reforms it's making, which are working, so that the next government doesn't undo the progress. Economic success has to outlive political cycles. So, my people, where do we go from here? Ghana's economy is experiencing a rare and honestly remarkable moment. The city is gaining strength, investor confidence is creeping back in, and bold steps from gold nationalization to anti-corruption crackdowns are shifting the narrative. But let's be clear. This is not the finish line. This is the starting gun. Because currency rallies don't change nations. Systems do. And if Ghana wants to move from survival to sovereignty, from short-term stability to long-term strength and impact, then this moment must become a blueprint, not just a blip. Now is the time to rebuild our economy from the ground up, back our currency with real production, not just reserves, train our youth, empower our entrepreneurs, and stop exporting our potential. This is a chance to write a new story, not just for Ghana, but for any African nation that's tired of being told its only value lies underground. Because here's the thing, if Ghana can pull this off, if it can turn a currency comeback into an economic revolution, then it won't just be the city rising. It'll be a model for what an African-led transformation truly looks like. The only question now is, will Ghana rise with the city or let this window close like so many others before it? Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you believe Ghana is finally on the path to lasting change? I'm listening. You know I'm in there with you. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. That's it for today's show. If this episode moved you, you learned something new, don't just scroll past it. Hit that like button, subscribe, share this, and yes, join our membership community where we go deeper beyond the headlines. Thanks for watching. I'm Sandra Babu-Boateng, and until next time, take care. Hey you! Thanks so much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and join the family. Also, visit face-to-faceafrica.com for your daily news and updates on what's going on within the global Black community so you can stay informed.